It's funny that I was asked to do this because I have a hard time. I have a hard time seeing myself in leadership. I have a hard time seeing myself identified as a leader, but maybe I come off with some of those characteristics, or maybe I just appreciate it, Colton. Thank you so much for letting me come here and share my story, but also share just a bit of advice and things that I think will be relevant to the world today. If I can just get some help really quick, if I can get a few volunteers to bring up 8 chairs, if that's okay, just 8 chairs. Anybody just come on up and give me 8 chairs, yeah. Just line them up. Well, 4 chairs right there, thanks bro. And 4 chairs right here. All right. Thank you so much, thank you. Appreciate it. Once you got 8 chairs, we should be good. Appreciate it, man. All right. 8 chairs. Now, I'm not going to use this till the very end, but I wanted to make sure they were up here, that they're ready to go, and I can use them as soon as I want to. So they're here. That's good to know. I want to share a little bit about my story. Who here knows me, first of all? Oh my goodness, there's so many of y'all. Oh my goodness. All right. But it's still, a lot of you still don't know me. Some of you I teach. I'm having my class. Try and come here as well for extra credits. So that's awesome. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Agustin Diaz, but I just go by Tino. Born and raised in Brooklyn, just like my bio said, but also I come from a specific spot in Brooklyn, mostly Sunset Park, where we mostly had Dominican and Ecuadorian, a few Puerto Ricans as well, very dominated by that kind of demographic. Now, me personally, I grew up around that, and my heritage is very specific to Ecuador and Honduras. And so for me, I feel like I kind of became Caribbean just because of affiliation with my friends and things like that. So I began to talk a little Dominican, act a little Puerto Rican, eat some of the food and everything like that. And so even people tell me all the time, like, yo, Tino, tú eres Dominicano? And I'm like, no, but I did hang out with a lot of them, so I guess I can kind of claim it. But that goes beyond that. When I was growing up there, I didn't grow up with this idea of like college as a really big thing. I grew up in a high school, a couple thousand students, where college wasn't an aspiration for many of us. We mostly had the military come visit us. It was a pretty diverse school though, I'll be honest. But that's what it was. It was a very specific kind of pipeline where poor young kids of color mostly went to just kind of end up in those same scenarios, or in the prison system, or just in trouble in general, or really with no prospect for their future lives. Now, I got to this point where I'm 18 years old and I get into a little bit of trouble, right? My mom notices and she's like, hey, you know what? I'm not really feeling you staying here. I want to send you somewhere else. So we had family in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I decided I was going to go ahead and check it out, right? But I'll be honest, I literally thought that Utah was in like upstate New York. So I thought I was just going like 2 hours away. Hell no, like it was literally like in Bufu Carajo land, like it was like somewhere else, right? And I get here to Utah, and it's interesting, and it's great, and it's tough, and it's lonely, and I change, right? So I decided to check out a favorite cousin of UVU's called BYU Idaho at the time. I know. And so I go to BYU Idaho, and I spend some time over there. I get kicked out. Surprise, surprise. What else is new? And you watch a movie there and you get kicked out. And that's what happened. And I keep on going. I'm doing my life and so forth. And all of a sudden I decide, you know what? I really want to go back. I think I straightened up. I think I'm cool. I think I can handle BYU Idaho again. So I go back, right? And this time, it was the summer of, I don't know what semester. I can't remember the year. But I'm riding with a friend, motorcycle, right? I'm riding a motorcycle with a friend. And while I'm riding the motorcycle, I go pick him up. And he stops me. And I'm like, hey, let's go for a ride. I'll go drop you off somewhere. So I go with him to ride somewhere. And we're going. And mind you, this is what I think happened, right? Because that's what the logic tells me, right? Like, that's from the stories that people told me and so forth, because I woke up 3 months later from an induced coma with broken bones literally everywhere. I shattered my legs, I broke my ribs, I broke my arms, I and I suffered a traumatic severe brain injury. And when I first woke up, I started crying, right? Because there was all these people around me, there were family all around me. And probably not the greatest thing, but the most difficult thing I've had to deal with is the fact that my parents, my mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, all these other family members came with me, just came to be with me and left their lives behind in Brooklyn, in New York, just to make sure I survived. So for 3 months they were with me, and they stayed after that as well. They pretty much had to rebuild their whole entire lives just to be with me, right? I had to relearn how to walk again, I had to relearn how to talk again, I had to relearn how to do all these things all over again. And I'll admit, I think I was a little crazy after a traumatic brain injury like that, and just so on. I don't think there was something right with me. I drilled a lot. That was not very sexy. Like, I don't know. Like, there was just something up with me, right? There was just a lot of things going on with me. But I think the thing that affected me the most was this idea that I had to reflect. My life changed, right? I almost died, and I almost died really with no purpose behind it. I almost died, and I left no mark in society except that I got kicked out of the infamous BYU Idaho, which all my friends could claim as well. You know, like nothing tremendous, great, or powerful that I could leave the world with. So I did a lot of reflecting. I did a lot of like internal journeying, where I came to find that I truly believe that in order to further understand myself, in order to help others around me, in order to help the people around me, in order to further engage the people around me, I need to know more about myself. So I began to dig. I began to look into what made me who I am, my identity, and things like that. Now, the term was mentioned Latinx in the bio, and from my bio, which Colton noted. Now, if you haven't heard about it, it's a really interesting phenomenon that's happening within language and Latinidad. So Latino, Latina is a very gendered language, right? To speak Spanish is a very gendered thing. You could have a whole crowd of women here, and I could be addressing you, but the presence of one man, I have to refer to you in the masculine, right? Now, instead of like all like Latinas, if you're all Latinas or whatever, or Latino, whatever, I now have to refer you all as Latinos. Like I have to masculinize all of you, right? So the term Latinx is this effort to truly make Spanish or Latinidad or the term Latino non-gendered, right? So when I say Latinx, I'm not really referring to male or female. I'm just kind of referring to the person, the body, the heritage, the culture. So digging into myself deeply, I had to find out what that meant to be a member of a Latinx community and why. And as I began to dig, I found out that my roots go farther back than what I've oftentimes known besides a Spanish Sir last name. When I dig back far enough, I find that my grandmother was actually a resistive soldier with the Lenca Mayan community and all these other people in Honduras at the time. Honduras is kind of interesting because it's kind of like in this very shitty moment in society, I would call it, if I could call it something like that, right? Because of U.S. intervention and U.S. policies that have kind of gone in, destroyed it from within, and have used it as a bridge to destroy other countries. And so I have this really resistive background with my grandmother that I never knew about, but as I began to dig further and further, I find a really strong black heritage, I find a really strong indigenous heritage within those countries, which makes me something that I'm really, really proud of. Now, as we continue on to understand more about ourselves and understand more about like where we come from, my belief is that it truly is something we can grow from. There was something I really just wanted to mention before that, and that's this idea of elder knowledge. So according to indigenous communities, the idea of elder knowledge is just critical, right? To understand the importance that your elders have and their knowledge that they share with you is a pretty powerful concept. Now, a piece of elder knowledge that I took away from me was just a few months ago when I went to go visit the house of my tia Pollita, who lives just in Springville. And I talked to my tia Pollita about like, hey, These are all these things going on, all these terrible, nasty things that are happening in today's world. How do we fix it? Like, how do we deal with this? And she told me, Tino, mira. And usually when that happens, like the Latino families have like these chanclas that they just throw at you eventually. But that did not happen in that case, obviously. It was just, she's like, mira, we're like the corn. And I said, whoa, what do you mean? We're like the corn. She said, well, the corn has many kernels, right? And all these kernels have a life of their own. All these kernels mean something. But together they stand together as one unit. And this is a powerful thing because it's nourishment, it's strength, it's spirituality. We come from the corn. We are the people of the corn. And that to me hit me strong because just a really powerful lesson behind family, background, where we are and like where we can take the future just from a piece of corn. That's what our elder knowledge is really all about, to kind of take these lessons from the past and make sure that you as holders of knowledge, you as leaders, can transfer them on to the future, to your children and their children and other communities around you. Now, for me, this is all about understanding the matriarch or matriarchal knowledge, right? It's an interesting thing to know that we in this society, are we open to the idea of being led, instructed by, directed by women in our own cultures and our own societies? And I think even, to be honest with you, Latinidad has a long way to go in that sense. Even though our grandmothers and our mothers are very much the neck, the bosses, the head of the families in so many ways, the doña, the goddesses, the matriarchs of our family, they still have very much a little power in our society today, in the structural realms of our society. And that to me is a huge problem until we can see fit to reframe that understanding of where women stand in our culture and our society, then we can kind of go forward. Now, I highlight women in this because I look at the resilience of my mother's sisters, my tias, everybody around, my abuelitas, my grandmothers, who move mountains, who survive so many instances of violence, moments of violence, just to allow us to be here. An interesting story about my family is that from my dad's side, with his mom went through like 5 different husbands, right? And she has like 18 kids. So I got like mad family. Cousins that multiply like every few years. It's ridiculous. But I think we have a total of like 148 cousins. It's just like really powerful to me. I'm like, damn, we got like a mafia going on, this idea is powerful to me because my grandmother first came here to this country in New York with a visa. She overstayed her visa. She realized that things weren't really doing too good in Honduras. And she decided, I'm going to marry somebody with papers and bring the rest of my other little homies along, And so she found this, this Puerto Rican guy. He died like 2 years later. Man, I know a lot of guys been dying with my grandma. I just don't know what's going on right there. But she married this Puerto Rican guy. She was able to work really, really hard. She worked 3 jobs just to make sure she could make this whole process of citizenship happen. And in time, not 2 years, but in time, the man died, and she was able to bring her children one by one. And in many ways, because of that process, because of this willingness, this resiliency, this perseverance to survive and have a better life and have a better life for her children, is the reason why I'm here, right? Which is interesting to me when we bring up arguments about who belongs here and who doesn't, because in the end, I just don't see that. I just don't see that argument. Now, that being said, understanding matriarchal knowledge, understanding matriarchal instances that we can actually live up to this, we've seen this in the past, okay? Who here knows about the Iroquois Confederacy? Iroquois Confederacy? Nobody? The Haudenosaunee people? The Northeast? I feel like you're just like, yeah, I'm feeling this. Okay, what's your name? I'm sorry. Right, yeah, right there.
Are you meaning like the Iroquois Nation?
Yeah.
So, back in the day, the Native American tribes up in that part of the United States as well as Canada, they created almost like this league of these Native Americans. And they would get together and they would decide on policies and rules and how that they ruled the Iroquois Nation.
Right. It's the Haudenosaunee, got messed up right there. The Haudenosaunee people. And you have 5 tribes that make it, right? The Seneca, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, and also the Mohawk. And then later on, you have the 6th tribe, help me out, the Tuscarora in 1722, who decided we're going to join as well. These tribes were not very friendly to each other at all at the time, all right? But they were able to create a confederacy that negotiated politics, that formed strength, and that was very independent in their own way. This was also the framing of the Constitution of the United States. The founding fathers drew inspiration from this. They saw, wow, this League of Nations is working together. We can do the same thing. And guess what? It was started by women, because the Iroquois Confederacy, or the Iroquois peoples, including the Huron as well, had councils of matriarchs that led them. But they also had men that had these roles, but they had to go through the women to actually implement these decisions, which is fascinating to me, that these incredible things can come from a very matriarchal side of our humanity. The question becomes, are we doing that today? Are we listening to our women? Are we listening to our elders? Are we listening to the people who in times past have been able to inform us in many ways of all these different things? Now, because in the end, it's all about getting along, right? It's all about working together. It's all about building bridges. I love this saying from Cornel West. Who here knows Cornel West? Anybody here know Cornel West? Damn, we need some help, right? We need some real academic interference right here. Cornel West is a black philosopher from Harvard. Amazing guy. You've seen him. He's got the afro. He's got the glasses. He's on TV shows. Yeah, you've seen him, right? Yeah, you've seen him. He said something so incredibly powerful when he visited Weber State, right before the break last year. And he said, brothers and sisters, we either hang together or we hang separately, which was really powerful to me, because this idea of building relationships, building quote-unquote unity, building bridges, building coalition, collaborations, is everything that humanity hinges on, all right? Now, understanding that, let's see. I wanted to mention that because West also mentions that in order for that to happen, in order for that to come true, we need to be able to look at people, to see each other, and on top of that, see each other's suffering, all right? This means all marginalized people put to the side, people who have been underserved, but it also means to feel with them, to not just see them, but feel with them, cry with them. It's an interesting idea that we can respond emotionally to these things, because to me, that's a powerful concept. That I can look through your lens, I can look through your perception, I can feel what you feel, and I get it. I may not be in it, but I get it. And that's why it's so important that I'm with you in many ways. Now, inclusivity, who here has heard of the term inclusivity? Okay. All right, there should be a lot more hands going up, because that's a big thing here at UVU, right? Kyle Reyes is really pushing that forward with inclusivity. Can anybody give me a working definition of inclusivity? To be inclusive. Yes. Right, and in many ways, inclusivity seeks a movement of many movements, right? Because it's trying to be inclusive of all these people and all these different things. So when a UVU office is seeking to be inclusive, what does that mean? I just want to get ideas. Yes?
I think it goes beyond just looking for representation of
Right.
ideas, but it looks for incorporation of the different viewpoints, ideas, and backgrounds. And
Very
so
good.
the office of being inclusive, it not only has women or minority students,
Yeah.
workers, but it has them inclusive in all ways of
Thank you. So I'm here to tell you today that my opinion of inclusivity is that it's a myth. Okay, I don't believe it's real. I don't believe it happens. But I feel like our attempts for it is the reality. We can strive for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can still launch for it. We can still move forward towards it. We can still engage it, all right? It doesn't have to be perfect, all right? That's total bullshit. It doesn't have to be perfect, all right? All right? Now, that being said, I loved what has happened in Honduras recently. There's an organization called COPINH. I don't remember what it stands for. It's a lot of letters. But that organization has managed to bridge all these different indigenous groups together, as well as with black indigenous groups in Honduras, and other groups, especially feminists, queer populations, trans youth, and all these other groups together to fight U.S. intervention and horrible policies that existed in those countries against people, especially against indigenous peoples, against women, etc. And so, for me, it's still not inclusive, right? This beautiful organization is still not very inclusive because there's still hatred against specific groups of people. But there's the attempt, all right? And the attempt, and many times, is all that matters. My children, I want the best thing to happen for my kids. I'm a single father. I want the world for them, right? I want them to be good men. I want them to be better men than me. I don't want them to curse. I curse so bad. But like, they are. I want them to be good men. And you know what? You know what's up though? Like, if homie becomes a drug dealer one day, or if he becomes whatever he wants to become, you know, like whatever happens in this world, because it's not perfect, I got love for them no matter what. A father's love, a mother's love, a parent's love cannot be superseded in that way, right? We strive for things. We attempt for things. We do the best we can regardless of what we have with the resources that we have. Now, here at UVU, I argue that inclusivity is a myth, but we still keep striving for it, right? Now, that being said, what is the solution? The solution. I feel like people with power, people with privilege, oftentimes use that as an excuse. You keep telling me these tips, you keep telling me these things, you keep telling me these complaints, these issues, but what is the solution, Tino? How do we fix this? Well, I'm going to tell you that there is no solution. There's a process. There are steps. And sometimes these steps revolve around right back to the beginning and you start over again, right? And that's okay. There's an incredible individual by the name of Juan Prieto, who is a UCLA student who started the first Dream Center. The Dream Center, what a Dream Center is, it's a center for undocumented youth, families, and communities. And he started the first one that could actually advocate for them in this institution, at UCLA in higher education. And what he said, he wrote a blog piece called "A Tough Love Letter to Dreamers." Who here knows what a dreamer is? Okay, what's a dreamer? Just shout it out. What's a dreamer? Leslie, what's a dreamer?
They're from DACA.
Okay, they're an undocumented youth, right? So someone who came here at a young age and so forth, and did not come exactly through legal means, but they're here. Their parents brought them here, and they hopefully can qualify for a DREAM Act or something that will let them go through citizenship, through education and things like that. Now, he told dreamers in this tough love letter, he said, I want you to cease being American. I want you to cease creating borders within yourselves. I want you to cease trying to limit, contain, and if anything, just be free like the body you are. Now, Juan Prieto, he understood undocumented peoples as almost transnational peoples that go back and forth through borders all the time. Because they're linked back home, they're not in this official paper status in many ways here in the United States, and it's like this muddy water between all of that. And he says, if anything, undocumented peoples travel that and they negotiate that and they navigate those processes all the time. This idea of being accepted because of just who you are as culturally as an American, but because of one slip of paper, all of a sudden being rejected, right? So he put down this really interesting, he didn't put this down, but Angela Davis, who here knows Angela Davis? Okay, Leslie knows Angela Davis. Angela Davis is an amazing black feminist radical philosopher. She spoke at SLIC. She and Bell Hooks, they communicate, they collaborate, they work together. Angela Davis put up this notion called transnational solidarity. This idea where we cross borders to create solidarity, right? Now, if the solution is a process, if the solution are steps, if these are the solutions, what are we taking within our realities to actually implement them? What are we confronting about our own racialized, our own sexual orientation-wise, our own genderedized, our own religiously atmospheres or environments to confront that, to challenge that? Are we actually taking steps towards this world where we can actually build bridges, or are we just sticking in very homogeneous zones? Because if we are, we're actually taking steps back. We're not taking steps really anywhere, to be honest with you. Now, I'm going to finish off. How much time do I have left, actually?
Like about 10,
10, 15 minutes. This is perfect. Okay, cool. I want to finish off with a quick note by, again, Cornel West, who I saw in Weber State University. And that man, hearing that man last year changed my life. And saw what I have to go through, what I've been going through as a doctorate student, as a father, as an administrator here, as a community activist, everything. It just put it all into place for me. And he basically told me, he was speaking directly to me, all right? He was saying something like, talk fearlessly. Don't be afraid to dialogue. And talk with a passion, talk with a stance, talk with an opinion, talk with an agenda. And so, me personally, I know that there are people here at UVU that are not my biggest fans. I get that. But I'm going to close off with a quote from Berta Cáceres, who was actually killed 2 years ago by U.S.-trained police forces in Honduras because she was an indigenous woman trying to combat the building of a dam in Honduras against her indigenous peoples, the Lenca Maya. And she was trying to combat this. Does anybody know about Standing Rock? Okay, this was like Standing Rock down in Honduras, right? Where there was the government was trying to put things down to create a dam for more resources and things like that, but the communities were like, no, don't do this. This is going to harm us. This is going to detain our water. This is going to destroy us as a community. So she was stopping this, and she led a really powerful movement against it, and she was killed 2 years ago. And now there's evidence pointing to kind of our intervention behind it. She said something that I'll never forget. She said, what did she say? They are afraid of me because I'm not afraid of them. Now, I know that sometimes we can make career moves that may not be in the best interest of our success, but I'm not trying to be successful. I'm just trying to be a good person. I'm just trying to be a great person. I'm trying to be a great family man. I'm trying to be someone that connects to my family, that holds on to my family, that makes sure that they raise great boys no matter what. And I don't really care about being successful. I don't really care about making money. I don't care about any of that. As long as they're good guys when they grow up, in whatever respect that means, that's what it is to me. So, inclusivity, leadership, diversity, building bridges, you do the best you can. You strive for it. You make attempts for it. And that's all really I want to leave off with you. Now, how much time we have left?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. If I can get 4 women to come join me really quick. Just 4 volunteers who identify as women. All right, thank you. We have 1. Okay. We have three. We have three. We need one more. We need one more. Okay. I need one more. All right, we have one. Okay. All right, ladies, you want to come back here really quick? Okay. This is going to be a secret conversation, so.
All right, so they're gonna select 4 more volunteers for each group. They're gonna try something really quick. It'll be really quick.
Can you flip your mic back on?
Well, they're going to select 4 people for volunteers, each group, and just follow them if they select you, please. And it'll be really super quick, all right? Oh, they'll tell you. So, you want to take a seat? Yep, take a seat. All right. Okay, we have 2 on this side. We have. All right, let's get this row going. All right. All right. Sweet. All right. Okay, beautiful. All right. Okay, we have some leaders right here. So this group right here, let them know what they're going to be doing and then enact it. This group right here, let them know what they're going to be doing and enact it as well. Okay?
Yeah, so you guys are gonna be laying on top of each other. I've done it before.
Okay. Okay. So that means start going ahead and doing it. So to start arranging yourselves.
So you can hold the chair. Yeah, so we're gonna chairs to start. Yeah, you guys can and then I will help you guys light them out once you guys have your stuff.
Hold that chair up, dog.
These are all college students, all right? We're all in college. We're pretty much geniuses here. No? Okay, so I'm more or less seeing if they can kind of figure it out, right? Some of you might be seeing what they're doing. Does anybody see what's happening here or no? All right, there's a few. All right, I'm gonna give y'all some time. I'm gonna give y'all time because we don't have too much. So.
Okay, you guys ready? Wait, what do I do? So then you're gonna lay your back on her. Look, they're getting.
You're kidding. Okay.
Alright, are you guys ready?
Oh wow. All right.
You guys need to hold each other's hands for grip. Hold hands for grip. Hold hands for grip. Put your back here on his leg.
Okay.
Ready? Ready? Ready, kids? Ready?
Oh wow.
Hold hands for grip.
Okay. Okay. You guys did it. Just hold on there for a little bit. Just chill for a little bit. Oh no, she's buckling. She's buckling. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh my gosh. All right. So, okay, team, good job. Team, good job. All right. Okay. Okay. So, you can go back to your seats. Thank you. Okay. Now, was it perfect? No, no. It wasn't perfect. And I didn't think they would actually do it. Like I was gonna count to 10 and be like, oh, you guys suck. You're terrible, you know. You can't make it. You can't do it. But they kind of did it. They did a pretty good job. Remember. And then those who did it were able to create a structure, right? We're able to create something that you could hold up and hold it up well, right? So again, it's the attempt. You strive for these things. And I picked women specifically because I feel like we, as a society, need to kind of be taking those steps. Picking people who are different from us, who are radically different from us at the same time, and listening. Because they may present perceptions, ideas that can hopefully help us get to the point where we're trying to go. Everyone, thank you so much. I appreciate you listening to me. I appreciate you just taking this time. Thank you. All right.